Hello and welcome back to another video. Yeah, I did one yesterday about what I keep in my portable emergency pack. Not a bug out kit. Technically it is, but we won't call it that. Anyway, if you remember, it was such a nice day, I decided I would film it on the tailgate of my pickup out in the driveway. It was a beautiful morning. Not a cloud in the sky, very calm, very pleasant, right? As soon as I got set up to start shooting, sounded like a freaking hurricane came blowing through. I mean, man, the wind was blowing so hard at one point. If you remember, it even blew my camera tripod over. And of course, again, as soon as I finished and went back inside, guess what happened? That's right, the wind stopped. But why didn't I shoot it again, you're probably wondering. That's because that was the fourth time I had filmed opening that pack up. And the 3 previous times, for various reasons, I lost all the audio track. And finally I was just so mad. You know, it's like there's this conspiracy to keep me from publishing videos on YouTube. So I just said, you know what? If I get audio on this one, I don't care how bad it is. It's going on YouTube. So we'll call that maybe the second worst video I've ever done. I think the first one was my first Accolade Knights Templar sword review, when I was using just the microphone on my iPhone camera. So I got a shotgun mic set up on here now. I had gone remote. I had a remote microphone set up, and when the wind blew the tripod over yesterday, it broke the receiver on the camera. So yeah, gotta buy another one of those. So anyway, I got some comments from people, very interesting comments. I've got 92 subscribers now. That's cool, thank you very much. But it seems like most of the comments and most of the subscribers were people who had subscribed because of my black powder videos, and was wondering why I don't do more black powder videos. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, the public firing range here has shut down for the winter. They'll open back up in February, and I'll be getting back out to the range then. What with the restaurant and all that we're running this year, I didn't get a chance to get out there very often, but I'll make it back, I think, some more often this year. But I do have a black powder video today. There is one black powder firearm I own that I haven't showed you yet, and that is this. This is not an original, obviously, but this is a modern reproduction. It's made by a company called Lyman, and it is a reproduction of an 1800s Flintlock plains rifle in .54 caliber. Okay, right up front you might be thinking, wrong, didn't exist. Actually, yes, it did. If you go back and do some research, what you'll discover is, yes, this is a rifle, not a musket, with a flintlock, not a caplock. Oddly enough, the two did coexist in the early 19th century. Rifled barrels actually go back to 1498, a few years after Columbus went on his epic transatlantic voyage. The first rifled barrel was invented in Germany, 1498. They were in more or less common use in the 17th century. Military did not widely adopt them at that time. They continued using the smooth bore musket because the rifled barrel was harder to make and more expensive. And they already had this tactic of lining up, you know, 1 million soldiers shoulder to shoulder and just marching forward and just, you know, laying volley after volley of 60 caliber lead balls at the enemy. They didn't really see a need for a lot of rifled barrels. But there were rifle companies, there were riflemen. TV show, British TV show, I think it's off the air now, Sharp's Rifles. During the Napoleonic Wars, there were sharpshooters, there were snipers, and entire companies of riflemen during that war in the early 1800s. The caplock came out also in the early 1800s, but the flintlock continued right into the mid and late 1800s. There were even flintlocks used mainly by the Confederacy, but there were flintlocks used in the Civil War. So they weren't widely replaced until after the Civil War period, when the Caplock really took over. And then of course the repeating Henry came out, and Winchester and other Marlin and other companies after that with the cartridge repeating rifle, and it pretty well put the Flintlock on the back burner. The half stock, which this is, which is also known as a Plains rifle, a Buffalo gun, or a Hawken, these also came out in the early 1800s. So there was a period in that switch changeover that between the late early 1800s, when all of these features actually could have existed on one firearm. So this is more or less historically accurate. It's got black powder only, and 54 caliber and serial numbers and stuff stamped all over the barrel, which they would not have done then. But otherwise, this is actually could have existed. As I said, this is 54 caliber. I'm going to show you here on this front sight. This has an adjustable blade front sight, adjustable rear sight here, also adjustable for windage and elevation. So you take some time and sit down and work with this, a person could really zero this in pretty good. And then of course the Flintlock. Give you a close-up of that. I really like this Flintlock. There's some nice detail on this gun. It has double set triggers, which, no patch box, by the way. It just doesn't come with one. If you're not familiar, let me get back over here. If you're not familiar with double set triggers, it's used mainly in hunting for accuracy. You'll squeeze the back trigger until you feel a little click. And then that reduces the pull required on the front trigger from whatever it's set at down to whatever you set it for. I've got mine set at a ½ pound, which is just the lightest touch. So you might have seen in Quigley Down Under, the Sharps rifle that Tom Selleck used in that movie, that had double set triggers. Very good for long range accuracy. So this is a good hunting gun. All I need now is something to shoot with it. And as it turns out, I do have something. The Pumpkin family have come back to haunt me. I thought I finished Peter Pumpkin off last summer down at the river, but apparently I only wounded him. He crawled home, survived, and he's recovered, and he's come back to get me. Okay, the first thing is loading it. And I guess there are about as many different opinions on how to load a flintlock as there are people shooting them. Some insist that you need to prime the pan first and then load the barrel. Others say you load the barrel first, then you prime the pan. I've tried them both ways, and it doesn't seem to make any difference to me. I mean, they're about, it's a 6 2/3. But if you're not real familiar with how flintlocks work, let me get up here and show you. You've got this is called a frizzen, and you raise that up, and you've got to see this little pan here. You got this little pan that you fill up with powder, and then back against the barrel there, you see a little hole called a touch hole that goes into the barrel and ignites the main powder charge. So you'll fill up that pan, you close this frizzen down, then you got this lock here with a piece of flint, and when you cock that back, that's on full cock now, it was on half cock, which is where the expression "don't go off half cocked" comes from. When you pull the trigger, the hammer falls forward, the flint hits the frizzen, creating sparks, pushes it up. The sparks, hopefully, fall into the pan, ignite the powder, and the thing goes off. So it would work something like, you see that? So that's how that works, if we're lucky. Flintlocks have a bit higher rate of misfire than Caplock, which is one reason why Caplock superseded Flintlock. Okay, so this is a muzzle loader, so we load it down the barrel. Ramrod, this is the bullet that it fires, the ball. It is a 54 caliber soft lead round ball. And I'm going to load this up now. You're going to notice that I'm not using a powder measure. Don't need one. I have timed this particular horn in a powder measure and I've discovered that 8 seconds gives me a full charge of 80 grains. Now I've done this over and over and over, eyes open, eyes shut, even 8-second count, I get a full 80 grain in the powder charge, so in the measure. So I've just stopped using the measure, and it goes like this. Just like that, 8 seconds. Just tap. Ball tried to run away from me. You have to tap to make sure everything's seated down. Then we've got this greased patch we put on. Set the ball in the middle, push it down with your thumb. Then we take the powder seat, bull seat, and you put that, hit that, knock that down, and we're going to push it down again. Take out the ram and set it home. Another thing, I've been told for years that when you're setting a ball in a rifle, you don't want to go down part of the way and stop. You want to go all the way down in one stroke, right? Doesn't make any difference. Again, I've tried it. It doesn't make any difference. No, it's not going to go down halfway and get stuck. If it does, you got a bigger problem than how you're loading your gun. Okay. Now, we're going to put some powder in the pan. Doesn't take much. Close that down. Blow off any extra. And this baby's ready to shoot. So again, let me close this up. Don't want to get a spark down in my powder horn. Make sure everything's lined up nicely. And let's set up and see what happens. I think I got him. Let's go look at the damage. You can see we got a very nice entry wound here. Look at that. Very cool. Coming out the back end, another exit wound. I can actually see daylight through that, through him. I don't think Peter Pumpkin's going to be back from the grave to bother me anymore. Yeah, I just wanted to show you something. This is actually behind the table. See, there's the table there where I shot him. Shot that pumpkin. Look, all the way back here, there's pieces of pumpkin. There's some pumpkin. There's some pumpkin. There's some pumpkin over here. Some there. Oh, I mean, it went everywhere. Let's check on the other side. There's pumpkin there. Very nice. Can you get that? Can I get it down where I can see daylight? Can you see daylight through there? That's a hole, baby. That's a bullet wound. Okay. Look at that. All right. As always, thanks for watching, and please do not try this at home. Go out to a firing range. Okay. Cook everything apart, put everything away, got back into the house, and discovered that I actually set the camera up on what I would call the wrong side opposite the lock. I really should have set the camera up on the other side so you could see the hammer hit the frizzen, the sparks, you know, the thing go off much more clearly. My bad. Yeah, when I get a chance, I'll get back out here and I'll do another demonstration. Got a couple more pumpkins left. Peter's got relatives, so I'll be back.